The Week 8 waiver wire is absolutely loaded. We'll tell you who you need to pick up next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Michael Fabiano. And on today's show, we're talking waiver wire pickups for Week 8. It's an absolutely loaded waiver wire with some players popping off in Week 7. We've got a bunch of injuries that we've got to run through. I want to start at the quarterback position because there's a good chance that Jaden Daniels, Fabs, isn't playing this week as he deals with a hamstring injury. We're still not sure about Lamar Jackson. Michael Penix has got an injury that he's dealing with right now. Who are some of the top quarterbacks on the waiver wire that you are going after?
Well, first off, in Dynasty, Jaxson Dart's 100% owned. But I was shocked to see 55% ownership on Sleeper in redrafts, 43% ownership on ESPN. Folks, wake up. I mean, Jaxson Dart's like matchup proof right now. I mean, he went into Denver and had a huge game. He had a great game against the Eagles. He's been fantastic. And so even though he's got the Eagles again this week and it's a road game, I mean, come on. I know it's a small sample size, but the kid's been great. And I think even dynasty managers this week can lean on some older guys because we've got Bymageddon here. 6 teams are off this week. Aaron Rodgers has got a revenge game against the Packers. I know you love those, Marcus.
Well, doesn't it just feel like he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns in this game? Anytime they get inside the red zone, they're not running the ball, they're throwing it.
He's going to want to. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So, Rodgers is out there. Joe Flacco, another old quarterback who, by the way, not for nothing, but those two guys put on a clinic on how to play quarterback last Thursday night. So I don't care how old they are. And Flacco has got the best offense that he's ever had around him ever. I mean, even dating back to, the Baltimore Ravens days, he has got the best weapons he's ever had in an offense. And you look at the matchup. Oh, he's playing who? Oh, the Jets, revenge game. So, I mean, I know Marcus is like, I don't know if that's a revenge game. I say, damn it, it's a revenge game. So Flacco is a player that's also going to be out there on the waiver wire. You mentioned that Jaden Daniels is banged up. Marcus Mariota, I don't love the matchup on Monday night against the Chiefs, but earlier this year, he averaged right around 18 points in a couple of starts that he made when Daniels was injured. And then, a few other names, because we don't know exactly what's going on with some of these quarterback situations. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields going to be the starter. We're not sure. We know Bryce Young's out this week. He ain't going to play. Andy Dalton against Buffalo.
So Buffalo's defense is not very good. Like this, right. I could see this being a game where Dalton puts up some pretty decent numbers.
So I understand that, we don't like to talk about these old quarterbacks, but I don't care. I want points, man. I don't care how old they are. So these are some players that with 6 teams off, you have to look at this week. And, age be damned, they've proven that they can put up some pretty good numbers. So, hey, listen, you know what? We're going to start Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco in some leagues this week. So be it. You could do worse.
So let me ask you this. If you're coming down to between Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, who do you want?
Based on the matchup this week, it's probably going to be Rodgers because of the revenge game narrative. Mariota's got a really tough matchup. Kansas City's defense is very good, especially at home. So keep that in mind. But
it's the running ability that's going to save you there.
Right, exactly. He's going to have to. And I don't know who the Commanders' wide receivers are. Remember, Debo didn't play last week. McLaurin didn't play last week. So I have no idea. We got to get a little bit deeper in the week before we find that out. Even Flacco against the Jets. The Jets are no great shakes. So that's another team and another matchup where, Flacco can end up putting up good numbers. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, Dart is the guy I'm starting over all of them. And I just am still shocked that he's available in so many redrafts.
Yeah. So am I. That's shocking. I don't think that. I think it's going to be in the 80s or 90s by the end of the
season. It has to be.
Yeah,
because you have 6 teams off this week. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. He's got. And by the way, yesterday we mentioned Tommy Dreamer, the wrestling hardcore icon, gave us a little shout out on nice. X. Tommy, we love you.
Let's do some receivers real quick. Who's the top receiver that you are adding this week?
See, I don't know if there's a top option. It's probably going to be Tez Johnson because of what happened last night. And, boy, I feel so bad for Mike Evans because I love Mike Evans. I've got him in a couple of dynasty leagues, and I'm really bummed out just for him because it just looked bad. You're talking about a collarbone fracture and a concussion. But I do think that it's Tez Johnson, and he's got New Orleans next week. So that's a very good matchup. And I'll throw out some more names for you.
Well, real quick on Tez, real quick. So last night he had 4 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
But that very easily could have been a 6-catch, 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. Like he was wide open in the end zone, and Baker just missed him. Baker was just a little bit off last night. We're not going to get into too much of that game, but I just thought Tez was open all the time, and I know that's a Lions secondary that was beat up. But Tez played really well. Now, if you look at the last 3 games for Tez, 59 yards, 45 yards, 58 yards, that's not going to blow your socks off or anything, but you can see that there's some talent there. And now Mike Evans is gone. We still don't know about the status of Chris Godwin. And Michael Buka is, he's back, but he's dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know if I'm starting Tez right away, but I want him on my team.
And the status of Chris Godwin is really going to be, the answer that we need. And later in the week, if he's actually able to go, then maybe that hurts Tez a little bit. But Tez is going to be starting, because Mike Evans is we don't know how long he's going to be out. I mean, he's probably out for the rest of the season.
At least the fantasy
that's what it sounds like. Yeah. Also, you got to look at Kayshon Boutte. He only had 2 targets last week, but he scored a touchdown. He's had 13 plus points 3 times this year. Again, 6 teams on a bye. Stephon Diggs obviously is the number 1 there in New England, but Boutte's certainly the number 2. You could also look at Xavier Legette, who had 11 targets last week, and Andy Dalton's going to be the starter this week, and that actually probably is a good thing for Legette and Tataroa McMillan, which is strange because he's a backup, but he's also potentially out there on the wire. And then some other wide receivers, and some of these guys may not be the first to come to mind, but Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims Jr. They're playing the Cowboys this week. And as much as Marcus and I love what's going on in the office, our defense, garbage. So besides Courtland Sutton, who you're going to start, like Franklin or Mims could pop this week. We don't know what's going on with Washington's wide receivers yet. So, you could put Chris Moore and Luke McCaffrey kind of on your radar. Alec Pierce for the Colts had a very good game last week. If Josh Downs can't go again this week, they've got the Titans. So there are some options out there on the waiver wire, but I think Marcus and I agree that right now, as we speak on a Tuesday, Tez Johnson's probably the guy you want the most at wide receiver.
Yes, but Kayshon Boutte is interesting because he's made a lot of big plays for New England this year.
Yeah.
And I think every week that goes by, that Drake May continues to look really good. I just think you have more confidence in the floor and the ceiling of this offense. This used to be an offense where we were worried about them supporting even one fantasy relevant receiver. Maybe that's changing, Fabs. Like maybe Drake May is that good that he can support multiple of these guys. And maybe Boutte's not an every week starter for your fantasy team, but in some of these heavy bye weeks, he's not a bad guy to throw in your lineup because he gets a lot of red zone opportunities.
And have you noticed something with Drake May as well over the last 3 or 4 weeks? He's leaning less on Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
And he's going more to the wide receivers. The problem is it's hard to decipher who's going to be the guy every week. 1 week it's Diggs, the previous week it was Boutte, and Demario Douglas had a good game. So that makes it tough from a fantasy perspective, but he's definitely going to his wide receivers a little bit more. And you're seeing Hunter Henry's numbers slide over the last month or so, which is great for Drake May's value. And again, I absolutely love this kid. I actually, in one of my dynasty leagues, I tried to make a trade for him. I offered a 1st rounder and a 2nd rounder next year, and the guy flat turned me down. That's how valuable he is right now.
Yeah, he's almost impossible to trade for because of how well he's played this season. Let's talk about some running backs that could help you win your league this year. We will get to that next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all of the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every single model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make your everyday drives feel like anything but, with smooth handling to incredible controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And like our players, we sweat every detail, but when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're discussing players that you need to pick up on the waiver wire going into week 8. And let's go to the running back position. This is where it's usually harder to mine talent, but there are a couple of running backs this week, Fabs, that you should be going after. Who's your top guy?
Yeah, this week it's Kyle Monangai in Chicago. He busted out last week. He had 15 touches, 94 total yards. He had a touchdown, over 17 fantasy points. And it didn't affect DeAndre Swift because he was pretty darn good as well. He played 31 snaps, the rookie did, which was just 5 fewer than Swift. And again, 6 teams off this week. You got the Ravens this week. The Ravens stink. It's weird to say the Ravens defense stinks, but they stink. So like Monangai is someone that you could pick up and start. Or if you're in Dynasty, you could play him in a pinch because there are going to be far fewer options out there for you with so many teams on a bye. And then Brashard Smith, he's going to be a hot add off the waiver wire in redrafts, and people who have him in Dynasty, last week was pretty good. 19 touches, 5 catches, over 13 fantasy points. Now, 14 of his touches did come in the second half because the Chiefs were absolutely just boat racing the Raiders, and I understand that. Kareem Hunt got a little bit dinged up in that game, but he came back. Isaiah Pacheco and Hunter still the lead guys there. But we've also learned that Kansas City's in a situation where they're playing a team that they could potentially have a lead against in the second half. We could see more of Brashard Smith, and that may be the case this week against the Commanders, who just got smoked by the Cowboys. And, the Cowboys are not a great team, let's be honest. So Brashard, they're not a great, the great offense, not a great
As
defense.
I'm sipping out of my coffee.
I love that, by the way. That's the great with the old face mask. It's beautiful. For those of you who are watching on YouTube. So he's also a player to keep in mind. And I've got 4 others.
Can I talk about Brashard Smith really quickly?
Go ahead.
So for people that maybe don't know, Brashard Smith was a wide receiver at Miami, and he was a productive receiver. Then his final year of college, he went to SMU, made the switch to running back, had a huge year, helped SMU get to the college football playoffs. And he's not the most physical inside runner. And if you watch the Chiefs games this year, they don't really use him that way. But where they've been using him is as like a screen receiver and, out of the backfield as a weapon. I saw a stat the other day that when he's on the field, he's getting targeted 34% of the time. Like they are trying to figure out ways to get him the football. And the reason is because he's a fantastic athlete. And Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, they just don't give them that kind of juice on offense. So it might not happen this year, but it also could, because I think the Chiefs are just looking for anybody that can give them more juice, at that position. I want to make sure that he's stashed on my roster.
Yeah, no question about that. And Kareem Hunt, who knows what his status will be moving forward.
And he got banged
as
up
an
in this
older
game.
running back, and Pacheco is in a contract year if memory serves.
He is. Yeah.
So no, I 100% agree with you. Some of the other running backs, Tyler Algier got a little bit nicked up last week, so keep tabs on his status. But they got Miami this week. Like, there's enough touches for Bijan and Tyler Algier to just go bananas against Miami because they're just awful. These Justice Hill could be out there, and I know Marcus is a big fan, of Keith Mitchell, but when the Ravens are in games where they could be behind, and I don't know if that's going to be the case this week. It depends really on what Lamar Jackson's status is, but Justice Hill is going to get some burn potentially in the second half. And again, we're digging deep here, folks, because there's 6 teams off, and then 2 running backs who don't play this week who should be rostered. One is Bam Knight, who seems to have taken over the lead role in Arizona's backfield. Now, Trey Benson will be back at some point, but because Bam Knight's not playing this week, some people may not pick him up, so you could just grab him and stash him. And then Bashal Tutin, Travis Etienne's looked kind of lousy for the better part of the last 3 weeks or so. So what's not to say that when the Jaguars come back from their bye, they maybe utilize him a little bit more on the offense, because the Jaguars certainly have had some issues on the offensive side of the football and running the football lately. So Bashal Tutin's also somebody to keep in mind.
And I'm going to bring up, and I promise this is not my Cowboy bias because I'm not a huge
fan
totally
of the player. Yes, it is.
Jaden Blue got a little bit more work in this game. He actually had a long run that was called back because of a holding by Jalen Tolbert. Again, I think he's a long ways away from being a productive running back. Mm-hmm. But you look at this Cowboys team right now, like, this is arguably the best offense in the league. Javonte Williams is a top 5 fantasy running back right now. Crazy. And they don't have another running back on the roster outside of Jaden Blue. So, if Javonte Williams sprains his ankle for a week, it's going to be Jaden Blue's backfield in, an offense that is going to score 30 points every single week, regardless of the defense they play against. Even if he's not producing right now, I think he has to be on your roster.
Just in case injuries happen all the time. We've seen it. I mean, I feel like I say it every year, but oh my God, so many injuries. God forbid anything happens to Javonte Williams. Jaden Blue's value is going to go through the roof.
Yeah, and maybe it clicks for him. Any other deeper running backs, or is that basically? I know we're
I don't really even know how to go any deeper, honestly. I mean, there is nothing out there.
What about
absolutely nothing?
What about someone like Devin Neal with the Saints?
Alvin,
go ahead.
Yes, Devin Neal, in the case that I don't think he's going to come in and see like the touch share that Kenry Miller saw, but yeah, I mean, if Kamara gets hurt, then he is a very good play. The problem is the Saints can't run the ball.
I know.
But also, volume is king in fantasy. So even this week, like, Kamara's got the Bucks, and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, the Buccaneers are really bad against running backs. Have you seen the running backs they faced this year? Like, all of the elite guys. So, Kamara, we'll talk about start him and sit him on Friday. Maybe not the greatest option, but Kamara has shown now, hey, he's 30 years old. He's not the same back that he was. So Devin Neal is definitely a good pull, Marcus.
I got one more guy that I want to mention. I'm in a short bench waiver wire league. Like, when I mean short bench, I mean like 4 bench spots. Like, that's it. And Trevion Henderson was available in the Dynasty League waiver wire. And I looked at it for like 5 seconds.
How the mighty have fallen.
I'm like, I'm not. I mean, I'm joking. I mean, he is available in one of my leagues, in one of my Dynasty leagues, but I think it's just that's where we're at with Trevion Henderson now. Like, he's just not somebody, even in redraft, who really should be on your roster.
Again, the poster child for not buying into the hype in the preseason.
Maybe we'll just skip the preseason next year. We'll show up in, early September.
Oh God. Imagine how bad the first 4 weeks of the freaking games are going to be if that happens.
No, I'm saying you and I just skip doing podcasts in August.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Nothing's going on. Who cares?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about a tight end who could help you win your fantasy and dynasty leagues this year. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play, whether it's same-game parlays, I love money line parlays. Pick a couple teams that you think are gonna win, put them together in a parlay for a bigger payout, and now you've got some other teams that you can root for on a Sunday rather than just your favorite team. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Podcast. 2 shows every single day, one in the morning with Tyler Rowland, one in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins, available wherever you get your podcasts. So, Fabs, tight end is a position that you can easily replace kind of that mid-range production. If you're looking for a tight end that can get you somewhere between like tight end 8 and tight end 15 level production, you can find that guy week in, week out. But what's really hard is finding the guys that are real difference makers that give you the big advantage week in and week out. Is there one that's potentially on the waiver wire this weekend that could do that?
Yeah, it's Oronde Gadsden. I'm wearing my Lightning Bolts jersey. This is Lance Allworth, not Oronde Gadsden. But look at the numbers: 17 targets and 14 catches in the last 2 weeks. Last week he went bananas. He had nearly 26 fantasy points. I'm surprised that he's popped like this in the last couple of weeks, just because the Chargers already have so many wide receivers. And so a lot of this, I think, has got to do with game script, though, right? They were getting beat last week. They had to throw. Justin Herbert threw for a career high in passing yards. This week they got Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota's going to boat race anybody, especially if Carson Wentz is throwing picks. But just talent-wise, you want a piece of that. And tight end is a disaster this year. I mean, it seems to always be a disaster. In fact, I may run a campaign against tight ends being a position that you fill in fantasy. Just make it a flex. And then if you can use a tight end, you could do that.
I'm in a couple leagues where that's been the case for a while now. Like, people are just so fed up with the tight end position.
Or you make it a premium position and you give it 1.5 for a catch or 2 points for a catch.
Well,
either way.
The problem with that, I don't mind that, but then it makes your elite tight ends even more valuable, right, than they already are.
Funny though, do we have elite tight ends this year?
I got Jake Ferguson, baby.
That's about it.
Well, yeah, we got Ferguson, McBride, Tyler Warren.
Awesome lately. McBride's been awesome lately. Yeah. So, anyways, but Gadsden is a player that you want to get. And let's also look into, can we finally maybe get a little Colston Love land?
Nice,
right? Cole Kmet's hurt. I'm not sure what his status is right now because it's only a Tuesday. But if Kmet's out against Baltimore, then Loveland should play more snaps, run more routes. Interesting. So that's also a player that I want to keep tabs on this week. I mean, obviously in Dynasty, he's 100% owned, but in redrafts, he's out there. So just a player to keep tabs on, depending on what the case is with, with Cole Kmet this week in terms of his health. Marcus, I don't know if you want to get into Gadsden or Loveland, but there's actually a lot more tight ends that people can pick up, but I want to give you a chance to jump in.
Gadsden's interesting from a dynasty perspective because we started hearing some buzz pretty quickly out of the Chargers camp that this is a guy that could be a real difference maker. And it took him a couple of weeks to get going, but you can see why he's such a good fit in this offense because he can be a vertical option. And with Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey, doing a lot of their work underneath, they don't really need that safety blanket tight end. They need the field stretcher. And that's where Gadsden has been really good. Has Justin Herbert really ever had a tight end that's been overly dynamic? I can't think of one off the top of my head. So this is somebody that I think I want to be aggressive in going out and get, not just on my waiver wires, but if I can go out and trade for him now, even coming off a big week, I think I'm willing to buy high because of what he could potentially be in this offense. And we should mention, like, Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh have a pretty good track record with tight ends in production.
Mark Andrews, Vernon Davis, yes.
I would Delaney Walker, even a long time ago.
Yep.
I wouldn't just say this is a one-off game and he's not going to repeat it. I mean, he might not repeat that kind of production, but I want to be aggressive here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then, long-term too, how long is Keenan Allen going to be on the team? Is he going to come back in, 2026 or not? So yeah, I love the talent, and he's got the bloodline too. Remember his dad?
Well, and honestly, we should mention that, like, we kind of joke about bloodline, but it does matter a little bit because these guys have been around the
Mason
game
Taylor
for so long.
bloodline.
Yeah,
That's right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
well,
yeah.
TJ Watt, JJ Watt, the Bosa's, their dad played in the NFL. I just think when you're around the game so much, you kind of know what you have to put into it to be a really good player.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be surprised that Gadsden is having success.
Yep. So there's a handful of other tight ends, and a lot of these guys are just dart throws for this week. And they could be out there in redrafts, but Evan Ingram's got the Cowboys this week. He's getting targeted more lately. The numbers aren't great, but again, we have 6 teams off. I know Mason Taylor had a bad game last week. I totally understand that. The Jets are a dumpster fire, but still, if Garrett Wilson can't go this week against Cincinnati, they've given up the most points at tight ends. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, take your pick. It is a real dart throw. I mean, you can even throw Darnell Washington into that mix too in Pittsburgh. Arthur Smith, I mean, he loves using all 3 of those guys. Juwan Johnson bounced back last week. Theo Johnson had a really good game for the Giants.
I got one more. Speaking of dart throw, Theo Johnson is the guy that I want because 4 touchdowns and 4 starts with Jaxson Dart.
Right. And then finally, kind of going back to the past, but Noah Fant had a good game last week. He's put up a couple of good games this year, and Mike Gesicki's out. Remember that. And they've got the Jets this week. And again, the Jets defense is no great shakes. So Noah Fant, if you need help at tight end, if some of the players that I mentioned were gone, he's also worth a look out there for the desperate.
And I actually think Noah Fant with Joe Flacco is a good pairing because Flacco is just going to try to get rid of the ball as quick as possible. And Fant's a guy that is pretty good after the catch. He's not going to be a field stretcher at this point in his career, but could he get, 5 catches for 44 yards and maybe get you a touchdown? Absolutely. If you're just looking for somebody to get you not a 0 this week, I think Noah Fant can help you out there.
Real quick before we go, and I know we don't talk about kickers very much on this program, but only at the kicker position is a player who is in the top 5 available in 97% of leagues, and that's Joey freaking Sly. I understand, like, a lot of people don't like kickers. I do. I get hyped when Will Reichert nails a 57-yarder and I get 5.7 fantasy points for it. Giddy up. Points are points. And although I don't love Sly's matchup this week against the Colts, he did have 10 points against them earlier in the season. I don't know why, Marcus, for the life of me, people continue to hold on to guys like Jake Elliott, Harrison Butker, who aren't really producing and won't pick up. Like, Eddie Pinheiro is legitimately the second best kicker in fantasy football right now, and he didn't even start the season as a starter.
This is why I hate kickers. This is why I've eliminated them from every one of my fantasy leagues.
The kickers?
Yeah, I hate them. I don't play in a single league that has kickers anymore.
How dare you? You can't call it football without a kicker.
Of course you can.
Anyways, Jake Moody for the Bears. He's been awesome the last few weeks. Points are points. Most people play in leagues where kickers are, you have to start them. So just don't forget about those positions. You want every single point you can squeeze out of a week. And I know Marcus is probably going to edit this part out, but kickers are people too.
Kind of. All right. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Check out the channel on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.